I've got my live stream going, but it's hey Jamie, if I can look at a map, I can point you to it.
Oh,
When we're done, we'll pull up a map. I'll point you to it.
if you get to the big town, you're going too far.
Yeah, you definitely gone too far. but yeah, I can. I'm not from the area, so it's really hard. But I've been there like 5 or 6 times. I can find it.
Gavin, so whenever, once the press conference starts, anything you want to send the agenda, including flag it to the email, to text it to, or whatever.
Yep, sounds good. Which camera are we doing here?
You want to do this one? Let's do it. We can control that. Okay. You want to take like half a step back.
Yep. Just let me know when we're. Give me a heads up when we're going live here, Broccoli. And hello to everybody who's live online.
I mean, it's technically it's
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, it's gonna be really loud.
Just speak normally, right?
Ready?
Yep. Welcome everybody to the Clarion County Administration Building, where in about a half an hour we're expecting to begin a media conference here with Clarion County District Attorney Drew Welsh, several members of the Pennsylvania State Police, where we expect them to announce the name of Clarion County's Jane Doe, a victim of homicide, a blunt force trauma to the head, from back in July of 1990. She is known only as Penny Doe here in Clarion County and around the world. This is a case that has garnered a lot of attention from major media outlets. But we've known her up until now only as Penny Doe because she was found badly decomposed in a creek bed in Monroe Township near a train trestle. Did it stop? Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Hello and welcome to the Clarion County Administration Building right here on Main Street in downtown Clarion, where we are expecting in a little less than a half an hour to begin a media conference with District Attorney Drew Welsh, where we expect them to announce the name of the victim that we've only known since 1990 as Penny Doe. This is a Jane Doe case. It is a homicide case. We know that she died by blunt force trauma to the head. She was found by 4 children in Monroe Township on July 22nd, 1990. Her badly decomposed remains lying in a creek bed near a train trestle as the children were out playing berry picking. And we believe, thanks to genetic genealogy, though we will find out here at about 11 a.m., we believe it's thanks to genetic genealogy that officials now know the identity of Penny Doe. Penny Doe was named that because she had a penny in each of her front pockets in the jeans that she was wearing. So, just to give you a little background on this case, the like I said, the children found her at about as they were playing in 1990. They thought that they smelled the decomposing carcass of a deer, and of course, in rural Clarion County, that wasn't something that would be new to them. But as they came up to the trestle, they discovered what would have been a horrific sight for children: the remains of a woman. They ran back to one of their homes where their parents called police, and then Pennsylvania State Police came out. They then brought the state police, to where they had found the body. Back in 2022, I actually talked with Angie Klinger, she was 7 years old. The next day would be her 8th birthday. She was one of the 4 children that discovered Penny Doe. Now, Penny, she didn't have any identification on her. There was no indication, from as far as we understand, as to why she ended up there in that creek bed that was wet at the time. It was flowing water. There's no indication as to how she got there. She just had a trauma to her skull, and she had a broken femur, and that is how they found her. Her remains eventually were sent by Coroner Goebel. Let's see, guys, is that John Goebel? Would that have been his name? Rick Goebel, thank you. The Clarion County coroner at the time was Rick Goebel. Uh, his office sent her remains to the University of Pittsburgh, where a forensic anthropologist named Dennis Dirkmott uh, cleaned the bones and did a study of the bones, and was able to help determine this manner of death, and cause of death, the blunt force trauma to the head, and they were able to determine that it was a homicide. Dr. Dirkmott has curated Penny's bones ever since, and it was in 2022 that current Clarion County Coroner Dan Shingeldecker worked with me to put me in touch with Dr. Dirkmott, and we were able to actually go up to now Mercyhurst University, where he is, and see Penny's bones. We were even able, with the help of another lab, to extract DNA from those bones. So that's why we believe that that officials probably have used genetic genealogy in order to determine the identity of Penny Doe. This is a long time coming. 36 years that we've been waiting for this identity. I know that people are very excited. Of course, this will be the first step. We don't know if, as we know, Penny was murdered. We don't know if there's a suspect in this case. We only have been told by District Attorney Drew Welsh that they will be announcing the identity of Penny Doe, and it's going to be I mean, I think a lot of us are going to feel elated to finally know who this victim is, and it's a first step. I think that once that identification has been made, Pennsylvania State Police now have new leads that they can chase to try to determine, how did she end up in Clarion County? Was she local? Was she from somewhere else? Was she a transient person coming through? Where she was found was pretty close to Interstate 80. So there's been lots of conjecture, a lot of hypotheses, wondering who she is. Today we're going to find out. So we're going to take a quick break. We want to thank our sponsors for helping us do this live stream, making it possible to do this. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute. All right. Let me just check in with you guys, see how we're doing here. See if we have any questions or anything like that. Doesn't look like it. Guys, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Welcome to Clarion County. This is the administration building. This is the historic courthouse. This is the admin building, kind of kitty corner from the courthouse. And we've got the district attorney here. We've got several members of the Pennsylvania State Police here. We've got other members of the media here. Yeah, this is something that we're all looking forward to, really excited about. And let's see, I can show you my team from the old day job. Hope you guys don't mind being on. There you go. There's Brock and Jake, Dave. Dave's behind the camera kind of guy, but there he is. This is the A team from Explore Clarion. How much time do we have, Brock?
You got still 2 minutes.
Okay. Anything else you want me to cover, Jake? Anything you want me to say?
Just do your thing.
Okay.
We'll run one more 3-minute break before the 11:55.
Okay. All right. You want me to talk about maybe the experience of seeing, her remains and stuff like that? Is that?
I was going to say too, afterwards, maybe some people want to talk. But
Yeah.
actually on our stream, maybe the kids who found it.
Yeah, if they've come in.
Whoever wants to talk, right?
Yeah, let me just check real quick, see if anybody's here.
Yeah, but I mean after the press conference.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey guys over on YouTube, hopefully you can hear me. I've got my lav mic. I'm just going to clip it up here so that hopefully you'll be able to hear the press conference. All right. Is my volume okay, Brock?
Oh yeah.
It is a little hot.
It's a little.
I tend to get excited.
Well, it's a tad loud, but there's nothing you can really do about it.
I can hold it farther away.
That mic, it won't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that strong. It is that strong.
Funny. Oh, let's see. I don't want to. Her family wants to remain anonymous. I don't even need to mention that, but I can mention that we expect photography and everything, right? Yeah.
About 30 seconds.
Okay. Welcome back to the Clarion County Administration Building on Main Street here in Clarion. And again, thank you very much to our sponsors who make this live stream possible. Very grateful to the businesses who support our independent and small journalism, local journalism here in Clarion County. As I said before the break, we are expecting District Attorney Drew Welsh, along with several members of the Pennsylvania State Police, to be joining us, to be entering the room here in about 15 minutes, where they will be announcing the identity of Clarion County's longest running mystery. We know this victim is Penny Doe. For 36 years, since January 22nd, 1990, Penny has only been known as Penny, and here in about 17 minutes, we expect that we will know her identity. Not only know her identity, but according to District Attorney Welsh, we are also going to see photography of Penny Doe. We're going to know what she looks like. And if any of you have watched our coverage of this, we have only had some inkling, some idea of what Penny might look like based on forensic work that was done back in the 90s, forensic artwork using casting of Penny Doe's skull to try to come up with a clay rendition of what she might look like. And then later on, digital renditions were done and put up on NamUs, the national database of missing persons. So for the first time, we're going to find out what it is that Penny looked like, who she is. I will probably find out where she's from, if she was local, if she was from somewhere else. Of course, for the last 36 years, people have been wondering and people have been talking. There have been all sorts of rumors and hypotheses and theses, just wondering, coming up with ideas of who she was, what happened to her, who may have been responsible. And in our coverage so far, we haven't talked about any of that because it has all been conjecture, hypothesis this entire time. We believe that this has been solved through genetic genealogy. Because District Attorney Welsh has photography, we believe that they have been in touch with the family. And just to give you some idea of how this process typically goes, we know that DNA was extracted from the remains of Penny Doe that were being curated by Dr. Dirkmott at Mercyhurst University. We know that not only could it be extracted, but it could be amplified. If you watched our coverage of it, we actually did that with a private lab. Where we failed was we couldn't take it another step further because labs that would do the genetic genealogy portion of it, or the chipping, they call it, of creating a genetic profile that can then go into public databases, they really need law enforcement to do that. And so back in 2024, I had a brief meeting as I was covering another trial. I had a brief meeting with a member of the Pennsylvania State Police and let them know that that DNA was extractable and amplifiable. Now, whether that led to the Pennsylvania State Police doing anything is, I have no idea. They could have been doing the exact same thing that we were doing in parallel. I do believe that the YouTube coverage, the podcast coverage, the national media coverage, I do believe that that does lead to some incentive for law enforcement to look at new angles, maybe put some new eyeballs on a case. But we don't know. They could have been working on this for the last 36 years and have come to an identification of Penny Doe here in 2026, independent of anything that we may have done. So I don't want you guys to believe that we think that we have helped solve this case or anything like that. This is definitely in the realm of law enforcement, and we're extremely grateful and proud of both the law enforcement and the prosecutorial teams here in Clarion County that just do a terrific job at investigating and prosecuting crime. They do an amazing job. So we expect that here in about 10 minutes we'll get started. Why don't we take a quick break to thank our sponsors again for making this possible, and we will be back in just a few short minutes.
Okay, so do we want to let everybody else come in during this break? And just
We can just stop the coverage, just let it go live.
So what I want to do is we'll run through these commercials. She has about 2 minutes left. Everybody, but then you can come back and so you can say that we're going to basically
Yeah.
start our coverage, but just tell them
like after he says we'll be back.
yeah, maybe till like 10. I mean, we'll
10
come up.
15.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that.
So I think you leave this out.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't need to be talking until the end, right? I can just say, hey, we're back. We expect to start here in about 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Hello. Let's see. I'm just going to do a quick little. Drew, I'm just going to do a quick little bump when we come back and just say, and I'll do like 30 seconds and then I'll be out of your way. I don't mind standing in the back. Have a seat. You're good there. You want? How are we doing, Brock? Okay. Hey, Angie. It's good to see you again. Who else do you have with you? This is your friend here too?
This is John Kimmel, one of the other kids who's with us, my brother, Artie.
I'm Gavin. Gavin, nice to meet you. This is your seat. Everybody knows it's your seat, right? Good.
You can get pictures and do this.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we just let it go? Good to see you again. How have you been?
All right.
Good. Listen, what you were telling me about the Monroe County Jail has really helped on stuff that I'm doing out there. So thank you very much. Yes. Oh, yeah, you got it. I'm probably like going right in your way. Am I good here, Brock? We're back at the Clarion County Administration Building where we're expecting to start a press conference momentarily. I'm just going to let it roll. Thanks for joining us.
Just not connected. Yeah, that's right. We'll just get one. Here, Trooper, can you switch real quick? No, you're good.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Trooper Paige Piper, and I serve as the Public Information Officer for Troop C, Punxsutawney. I would like to take a moment to introduce some of the individuals here today. Corporal Kevin Crick, who's the Troop C Clarion Crime Supervisor. Trooper Randy Powell, Troop C Punxsutawney Criminal Investigation Assessment Unit. Corporal Joshua Bauer, Troop E Franklin Patrol Unit Supervisor. Trooper Stephanie Lindemuth, Troop C Clarion Criminal Investigator, and Clarion District Attorney Drew Welsh.
Thank you for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. Today is an important and significant day in the investigation into the death of Penny Doe. Through the dedicated work of investigators over the past 36 years, today I am able to reveal the identity of Penny Doe for the first time publicly. My hope is that today will serve as both a point of closure for some, as well as a new beginning in the investigation. I also want to outline some of the steps that have taken place and recognize the hard work put in by numerous investigators over the last 3 decades. Getting to this point has been a true team effort. It is a culmination of the hard work of people, some of whom have never met each other, towards a common goal. This case is still an active investigation, and while information is being publicly revealed for the first time today, there is still information that cannot be shared publicly in the interest of the integrity of the investigation. On July 22nd of 1990, a woman's body was discovered in Monroe Township, Clarion County, by 4 local children. 3 of those local children are here with us today, Angie and Arthur Klinger and John Kimmel, and I thank them for being here today. The Pennsylvania State Police responded that day, and the first trooper assigned to the case was Dave Spaharski. Due to the condition of her body, she was unable to be identified at that time. An autopsy was conducted in Allegheny County, where it was determined that she died as a result of blunt trauma to the right side of her head. From that point forward, the death has been considered a homicide and has remained open. The victim was given the name Penny Doe because she had 1 penny in each of the pockets of her jeans. From that date, 36 years ago until now, the Pennsylvania State Police and over 40 different troopers have had 2 goals in mind. The first was to identify who Penny Doe was, and the second was to prove what had happened to her and bring those responsible to justice. Since the early 1990s, Pennsylvania State Police have been trying various methods to identify Penny Doe. The first method used was an attempted fingerprint identification, which was unsuccessful. Investigators reached out to other law enforcement agencies about reports of missing persons. And those agencies also contacted the Pennsylvania State Police. There were family members of missing people, and any sort of online news or rumor that would circulate, the Pennsylvania State Police would follow up on. I started making a tally in preparation for today's conference of the number of missing persons who were investigated to determine if they were Penny Doe. I stopped counting at around 50, and that was just in the early 90s. The Pennsylvania State Police have investigated and ruled out over 100 individuals of being Penny Doe. Their dedicated work is especially impressive when you consider, starting in the early 90s, social media and the internet were not a thing. Over the years, numerous attempts have been made to identify Penny Doe through her remains. Investigators have used experts to analyze her bones and her teeth. There have been recreations made of her face and artist renderings of what she might have looked like. These attempts led to actually the first press conference that was ever held in the Penny Doe case. It was held on May 7th of 1991. At that time, there was a clay representation that was made, and the illustrations and computer generated images have been circulated widely in the press and in the internet. Anyone who has spent any time looking into the Penny Doe is familiar with these multiple versions of Penny. On the internet today, there's multiple websites, message boards that have posted both official and user-created renderings of what Penny might have looked like. Throughout the years, these renderings have been given out to the media. There have been updates, and the hope at the same time was always the same thing. That was the hope that somebody would be able to identify who she was, that somebody would have been close enough to this case that would be able to come forward with information that could be used towards those two goals. Every tip that was presented was followed up by the Pennsylvania State Police, and unfortunately, none of those tips got us any closer to identifying Penny Doe. To tell you a little bit about how I first became aware of the Penny Doe case, I didn't grow up in Clarion County or Pennsylvania. Before moving here, I had no idea about the Penny Doe case. The first knowledge I had was around 2011. That was shortly after I became assistant district attorney in Clarion County. I was in the crime room at the Pennsylvania State Police Clarion. That's a separate space in the barracks. It looks like you might expect. There's desks that have stacks of paper. There's a whiteboard on the wall with ongoing investigations. On the back wall, there was a picture of a skull, a human skull, as well as one of those attempted recreations of Penny Doe. I asked the trooper who sat at that desk. At the time, that was a trooper named Jason Scholl. And I asked him, what was that all about? And he told me for the first time about Penny Doe, and he clearly said, I'm going to find out who she was. To be honest, I didn't think much about Penny Doe's case for several years. In 2019, 2020, I'd become elected as the district attorney, and our office was sitting down and we were discussing what were things that we were going to accomplish in the 4 years that I would have been elected to. And in the midst of talking about procedural matters like how are we going to organize the files, how are we going to change the way that we do things, the Alexis Rupert, who handles our victim services, said 2 words, Penny Doe. At that time, it just happened that COVID happened around the exact same time. So while my office never closed, we had less time in court. And I requested from the state police a complete copy of the Penny Doe file, reviewed every page. And what I quickly found was, while I might have not thought much about Penny Doe from the first time in 2011 when Trooper Scholl was investigating it, that wasn't the case for the Pennsylvania State Police. From 1990 until 2020, when I was looking at this, there had been constant work done and dedicated hard work by the Pennsylvania State Police. I read about the other troopers that shared the passion of Trooper Scholl. There were names like Troopers Steve Lengel, Chip Davis, and Rex Muncy, who's here today as well, or just a few to name, but not the only ones who did a tremendous amount of work. Rex Muncy, who was here today, as I indicated, would have been there also on July 22nd, 1990, when Penny Doe would have been found. And he continued becoming the lead investigator on the case in the late 90s and early 2000s and continued to work in an effort to solve the case going into his time as Clarion County Sheriff. After seeing all the hard work that came before me, I wanted to make sure that we kept the case moving forward at my office. I got in touch with the investigator assigned at the time, that was Trooper Vaughn Norbert, and eventually worked closely with Trooper Randy Powell, and at the time, Trooper Josh Bauer, now Corporal Josh Bauer. Trooper Powell and I discussed what options we had. We wanted to try about using DNA to be able to identify Penny Doe. This wasn't the first time DNA had been attempted in the Penny Doe case, but technology was ever evolving. We went back and forth with different ideas, and they all presented significant hurdles. There was the high cost of extracting and testing the DNA. We talked about potentially raising money publicly through GoFundMe or some other means to pay for the fees and to have the testing done. Eventually, it was determined that we agreed the best course to preserve the integrity of the investigation was for the Pennsylvania State Police to move forward to do the testing and to find funding that would be available for that. Trooper Powell was able to identify a funding source, the Edward Bryn Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. That's a federal grant, goes by JAG. Resources were limited, and Trooper Powell had to, in fact, present the factors and the facts of the case to get the funding and to have individuals in the Bureau of Criminal Investigation with the Pennsylvania State Police to do that work. His application was finally approved after more than one attempt in 2023. Pennsylvania State Police partnered with Othram Labs for a DNA extraction. This took place in March of 2024, and the data was provided to Trooper Jeffrey Bainey with the Bureau of Criminal Investigations with the Pennsylvania State Police. He used his specialized training experience to develop a family tree and from the extracted DNA and utilizing databases to be able to find any familial relations. I said earlier that this is a team effort, and no one person deserves credit. That's true, but there would be no exaggeration to say that we would not be here if it weren't for the efforts of Corporal Bauer, Trooper Powell, and Trooper Bainey, and their work with the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. Eventually, a potential sister to Penny Doe was identified. Trooper Bainey, working with Trooper Bauer, contacted her. Turns out she had a sister that had gone missing around the same time as Penny Doe. She was asked to submit a copy of her DNA that was compared against Penny Doe. It matched. Ladies and gentlemen, Penny Doe has a name. Penny Doe is Wendy Buchanan. Wendy was born October 20th of 1970 in the Louisville, Kentucky area. She was 19 years old when she would have been found. She was the oldest of 5 siblings. Wendy and her siblings did not have an easy childhood. After her father had taken custody of the children, they traveled from town to town, living in tents and vehicles. Some of Wendy's siblings had left, lived with relatives and family and friends. The last time her family saw Wendy was when she and her family and 2 brothers pulled off on a random off-ramp looking for a place to rest and eat. And Wendy's last words to her family were, "Bye, Dad, I'm leaving." She wasn't the first to leave, but she was the only one that was never seen again. Over the years, Wendy's family had tried to find her. Her sister made repeated efforts, but to no avail. I've spoken to her sister, and she's here today. Sitting next to me, to my right, is Tanya, Wendy's sister. I asked her if she wanted to be able to speak today, or if she wanted to be identified publicly. Tanya had some understanding reservations and thought about remaining anonymous for a concern of the attention that this would put on her and a life that she's missed her sister, but now she's going to have a lot of people potentially asking her questions, wanting more from her. She's graciously agreed to appear here and give some thoughts on her sister, on Wendy from the family. And I would just ask that she wants to make a statement, but please, no questions for Tanya today. If she chooses to speak later, that would be her choice, but please respect her during this difficult and emotional time. So Tanya, you had some thoughts you'd like to share.
I'll just speak loudly.
You can speak loudly. They've got microphones here. People will be able to hear you.
So I'm a little vulnerable and emotional, so just bear with me, please. Sorry, just give me a second. So I want to tell you about my older sister, Wendy. My sister was fierce, and she was kind, and she was loving. She was the firstborn of 5, and she would often watch over us. So let me tell you, we weren't an easy bunch to watch. I was the second born, and I idolized my older sister. I wanted to follow her everywhere, which was certainly very annoying to her. She would tease me like most older siblings would, or tell me to get lost, but I didn't care because I loved her and she loved me, and she was my older sister. A very fond memory I have of Wendy is when she stepped up to protect me. I was getting bullied at the bus stop one day. The bully pushed and screamed in my face. I sat there frozen. I didn't know what to do, but my older sister Wendy did. She did not hesitate to protect me. She stepped right up to the bully and smacked her square across the face. Of course, I don't condone violence or ill will. She did it to protect me, and it worked. That bully stopped bullying me. I knew she would always protect me, and she wasn't going to let anybody mess with me. I felt loved by her, and I felt supported, and I felt our family bond. She was older than me, and I'm sure that me chasing her around to always want to hang out with her was very annoying. But we would often get into the basement of our house, play endless games of Monopoly and board games. We would swim in our backyard pool, ride bikes, go trick-or-treating, and she was basically always there for me. She was creative and artistic. She loved horses and animals. She was convinced that horseshoes brought good luck. And she always thought that finding a penny heads up brought you good luck. And if you know the saying, find a penny, pick it up, and all the day you have good luck. She never had the chance, but if she did, we can only imagine that she'd probably be a veterinarian today. She also loved to swim. She liked to fix her hair. She was sweet, she was sensitive, and she was kind. And she tried to be the overall peacekeeper of the family. This next part is to the people that worked the case, the 40 plus individuals over the last 36 to 37 years. It takes a very special person with a lot of strength and a lot of grit to do this type of work. They couldn't put a name or even a face to my sister, but they kept working the case. Our family deeply, deeply appreciates each and every one of you for staying with the case. It's very emotional for our family, and we thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts. For many years, we did search for Wendy, and we prayed that she would somehow be found or that she might return to us one day. And after many years passed, we came to believe that this is just one of those prayers that God won't answer. Sorry, I lost my place.
That's okay.
We all tried to learn to live with the unanswered questions and the unresolved mystery, but it did leave our family carrying a lot of grief and sadness around the question, what happened to Wendy? And then, by a miracle, what felt like a miracle to us, she found a connection back to our family. In all these years, one of our deepest and longest held prayers has finally been answered, and we know where she was now. We now have the chance to provide her rest in peace and sent off by loved ones. And what you have done for Wendy and our family feels nothing short of miraculous. So thank you to each and every one of you. We are profoundly grateful. But it's not over. We know where she was at, but we don't know what happened to her. The person or persons responsible for anyone who knows anything about my sister Wendy, it's never too late to come forward, and it's never too late to tell what you know. It's never too late to tell the truth. We are a Christian family and a forgiving family, but our willingness to forgive does not erase your accountability. Wendy deserves the truth, and our family deserves all of the answers.
Thank you. Tanya was also able to provide a message from Wendy's aunt. And Tanya's aunt, I'd like to read that now. As Wendy's aunt, I always knew her as a beautiful child and young woman. She had huge, light hazel green eyes, blonde, glistening hair, fair skin, a wonderful big smile, and an adorable laugh and giggle that would light up a room. Wendy was a gentle spirit and with a soft, kind Southern voice. She was the oldest of 5 children, and as the eldest, she was always trying to be the peacemaker between her younger siblings, which was an endless job. Wendy was responsible and hardworking and was always helping her mother and siblings around the house. Wendy loved to draw and write. She would draw adorable outdoor nature scenes and with sweet little rabbits, mice, and birds. Her artwork always included lots of trees and flowers. She loved writing creative stories with lots of happy endings. She was an expressive and colorful writer. She adored Walt Disney's Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty movies. She had lots of beautiful dreams about going to college and exploring the world. Wendy expressed those dreams and ideas in her letters over the years to me as a child and young adult. Wendy loved nature and being outdoors. One of her favorite memories was visiting Mammoth Caves with Wendy, her siblings, and mother to explore the underground caverns. She was so excited to be on a new adventure. Wendy enjoyed this tremendously and wanted to go again soon afterwards. Wendy was an appreciative, loving, and kind person. She was a beautiful gift to our family who was taken from all of us too soon. She will be greatly missed and has been for a very long time. We are tremendously saddened that she is gone from this earth, but we know she is in the loving arms of the Lord, and we will see her one day, which gives us enormous comfort. I would like to thank Tanya for being here. In those statements, Tanya and her family have also provided numerous photographs of Wendy from when she was a baby up until she was a young adult. My hope had been, we have a television here to be able to present those to everyone here right now. I have those photos. I will be posting those photos on my Facebook page, which will allow, Wendy's family has been so generous that they have been open to all those being provided because everybody wants to know who Wendy was. Everybody needs to know, and it's important that our first goal has been accomplished. That first goal was to find out who Penny Doe was. There's no more Penny Doe. There's Wendy Buchanan. As I said earlier, it's partially about that closure. But I'd like to personally thank everybody as well. There's people in this room that have investigated this case for a long time, and I know every investigator that's taken up that case up until now has wanted to get those answers. Wendy was a living, breathing person. She had a life, she had struggles, she had joy, she had dreams, and that was all taken from her. And it was taken from those who love her. My sincerest hope today is that this will start a new beginning to this investigation where we will be able to answer that second question, that second goal to find out who did this and bring them to justice. There are people watching this right now or reading this right now that know what happened to Wendy. So I'm going to talk to those people for a second. Right now, someone met her, spoke to her, or knows who killed her. It was easy for you to stay silent when it was an anonymous Penny Doe. Those days are done. Now you must speak. Lift the silence for Wendy Buchanan. If you know anything about Wendy or what happened to her, the time is now to lift that weight of 36 years of silence, and we'll finally have justice for Wendy Buchanan. Those are all the comments I have. If anyone else here at the table has comments, I welcome them to share those. Otherwise, we'll take some brief questions. All right. I'll open up to questions. Yes, Mr. Fish.
Drew, you said that she left at a random exit on the highway. Where was that?
So ultimately, we have some information that's provided that we're going to be looking into that's newer information. Based on that, I don't want to give away that information at this time about I want to make sure any information that's coming forward based on the information that we have could potentially match with that information to have credibility. So I can't disclose that right now. Yes.
How did you find the DNA?
So ultimately, the DNA was collected from her remains. That DNA was then sent off to a laboratory. They're able to extract the DNA. There's a process that they have to do that ultimately makes that DNA compatible and readable with databases and things of that nature. Previously, there had been efforts with DNA, but the matching of that DNA could only go to an exact match of an individual who was already in a system. The technology has evolved over time. You can now do the genetic genealogy to be able to trace back that information to a family member, and that's how that happens. Yes, Kevin, again.
Drew, there have been rumors over the years, which I'm sure everybody is aware of, but one of those rumors is that she came from the South with locals. Has this ID, knowing who she is now, knowing that lending? And any clues as to who did it?
So I think every bit of information that's provided is going to give us additional clues. Yes, every investigator, myself, we've heard all of the rumors. There have been a million rumors, all of them have been followed up on. There have been rumors about her coming from the south or being picked up by locals who have transported her. None of the information provided ultimately answers all of those questions, but every piece of information that we've gained has been helping us get one step closer. And my hope is that today, that there are individuals that know more, and when they're able to see Wendy's picture, when they're able to identify who she was, that they're going to come forward with additional information that's going to put everything together.
Can you spell Buchanan for us?
Yes, I can. Buchanan.
And was it Windy or Wendy?
Windy, Windy. And Tanya's Tania. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll get those pictures up. I'm sorry they can't be here at the moment. I will post them. I also have I have a laptop here that has pictures. Anyone that came here that would like to see those pictures today, if you would like to come up after, I'll make sure they get posted. Didn't work ideally how I wanted to, but I appreciate everyone's patience. And please, if anybody knows anything or knows anybody that knows anything, if you hear something after today from somebody who gives you information, even if they're not going to call themselves, call the Pennsylvania State Police. Their number is area code 814-226-1710. And Trooper Linda Muth is here. She's ready to go. She is the investigator that's assigned to the case today. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
The gentleman who was in front of us, he gave me his contact information. He wanted me to pass that along. Organization for Clarion. They have the carrier for life. Yes.
Shocking how close they got. Yeah, the center to them. My name is Gavin. I gave Drew my contact information. I'd love to talk if you're open to it. Totally up to you. But that center picture looks very similar to.
We were talking about that this morning. There's one of the renderings that looks pretty similar to it. Not quite spot on, but
not
it's
quite there.
there is a similarity.
That's. All right, guys, you probably can hear me. Are we on commercial there still? Guys, thanks for joining. I'm going to stop my live stream here, and we'll catch you tonight.